fallen to the demonstrators, who are busy reorganizing local governments.
It is no longer under military control. It is completely under the demonstrators' control. We're having the tribal leaders chipping in, everybody's chipping in to try to set up civil committees to run the city. We have already successfully set up a committee to protect the subsidized goods warehouses, which are paramount because they have the flour and grains which are necessary for the bread in the city.
Libya's leader has allowed himself to be filmed in recent days in front of his supporters, but has said nothing. His son did, though, warning in the strongest terms that the man who has run the country for 40 years won't go down without a fight.
The leader, Muammar Gaddafi, is leading the battle, and armed forces are with him, and tens of thousands are coming to Tripoli in his support. We will not give up Libya. We will fight until the last man, the last woman, until the last bit of energy.
There's no question that Tripoli holds the key to Colonel Gaddafi's political survival. Whether his regime has to rely on mercenaries, as has been alleged, which way the army will go, are all crucial. It feels like it's coming to a head, though with two sides in this fight, it's certainly a different situation to Tunisia or Egypt. Worse could follow. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Well, joining us now on the line is Salim Al-Mahdi. He's a lawyer and a protester. He joins us from the town of As-Sabha. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell us, first of all, what's going on in As-Sabha right now? Salim, if you can hear me. All right, we seem to have lost contact there with Salim Al-Mahdi. Perhaps we'll try and come back to him a little later on in this show. Of course, developments there are coming quite fluid. The story is moving all the time. In another development, South Korea's foreign ministry says hundreds of Libyans have stormed the South Korean-operated construction site near Tripoli. Well, at least 17 people were reportedly injured.
As with the Egyptian incident, South Korea's Land, Transport and Maritime Affairs Ministry is preparing to send special flights to the site if necessary. There are several South Korean construction camps in the Benghazi area. We have selected the largest and safest camp and chosen it as the safety shelter. We have taken measures so that South Korean people can all move and evacuate to the camp in case anything happens.
Well, foreign citizens caught up in the unrest are starting to arrive home. Around 300 Turkish citizens who were evacuated from Libya have returned to Istanbul. Most of them had been working in the construction industry in the eastern city of Benghazi. Nazanin Sadri reports.
Tears of relief. Men, women and children boarded Turkish. They witness and experience some of the horrors in the city at the center of Libya's uprising.
The experience that we had in Libya cannot be told. It could only be
ransacked by local people on Saturday night at about 3:15 in the morning. We were all ready for a situation like this. Everybody was sleeping in their daytime clothes.
A few hours later, the sounds of the 300 passengers as they touch down in Istanbul, back on home soil. In the days to come, there will be more such reunions as governments around the world work out how to ensure their citizens aren't counted among the dead and injured victims.
Well, we heard from Saif al-Islam al-Qaddafi a little earlier. At 38, he's the second oldest of Muammar al-Qaddafi's 7 sons. He's widely regarded by the West as the friendlier face of Libya. He led talks, which resulted in Tripoli renouncing nuclear weapons and ended decades of isolation. Well, he advocates political and economic reform, and as a result, he's angered many conservatives, including members of his own family. Well, the government has restricted the activities of 2 newspapers he's involved with. Saif is regularly tipped to take over from his father, but as said in the past, he's not really interested in a formal political career. Well, in his latest speech, Saif al-Islam al-Qaddafi appeared to apologize for the deaths of protesters, but he also condemned the motives of some of those demonstrators.
There were mistakes on both sides. Police, and especially the unprepared army, made mistakes. And of course, we have people who were angry, and they had the right to be angry because they suffered deaths. There is an Islamic group with a military agenda, and they want their own system. And there were others, including people on drugs, people who were curious, and others who got excited by it. They were all just being used. So there are many different groups that have different interests in Libya. It is clear there are those who want to rule and become emirs or rulers themselves. This is high treason. And then there are our Arab brothers, watching from their comfortable chairs, drinking coffee and helping us Libyans burn and destroy our country. We are the losers, not them.
Well, Awad Touarefri is from the Libyan Information Center in Qatar. He joins us now in the studio. Actually not. I think we've got, I'm sorry, we've got that all messed up, haven't we?
Yes.
Mr. Wahid, thanks for joining us once again. I think we are trying to get someone else in a little later. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Libya. We're now seeing reports of the security forces taking part, apparently, in demonstrations or riots of some sort in the Libyan capital. Up until this point, it seemed that Muammar Gaddafi could rely on the security forces. Is that changing now?
I believe so. I think that that reliance is slipping away.
What does that mean then for him?
Well, I think that he has no other choices. That's just as a matter of fact. I mean, he has to, whatever situation might come up to him and say, well, we could do this and that, he will have to follow. I mean, it's really sporadic. You can definitely see there's no particular strategy on a tactical level, on a strategic level. I mean, he's just reacting to the crowd. The crowd seems like they have some kind of a plan where they spur in pockets and in terms of the way they come up in certain parts of the town and the way they try to exhaust the security services and have them everywhere. So as you can see, obviously the system is very heavy.
Where is Gaddafi now? Do we know?
Well, there are a lot of talk. I mean, it spans from that he's in Sabha, that he's actually controlling the situation, up to that he's in Venezuela. So, I mean, it's just rumors all over the place. No one knows. At this point, definitely, and it's clearly his sons are the ones are managing the situation. I mean, clearly, Saadi at the beginning, we saw his activities in the east, in Benghazi. You know, he clearly was on the ground. He was noticed in there, and he had to flee, of course, after the situation. We understand his other son, Al-Mu'tasim and Khamis, they're involved in the West. And clearly, from a political point of view, Saif is coming up and trying to distract the scenario, but on a tactical level, in terms of security, his sons are involved.
And they're apparently still in control of at least some elements. How significant is it that Sabha, according to reports, of course it's very difficult to verify or confirm them, but some of the reports from eyewitnesses are talking about Sabha having fallen to protesters. If that's true, how much of a game changer is that? It's where Gaddafi went to school, isn't it? It's where his tribe is based.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, that's his fallback position, I would say. Sabha, in terms its southern connections with Africa and his roots back to Africa and so on, Sabha is very, very critical. There's clearly a lot of alliances being built in Sabha.